last week you got quite riled up on Damien O'Connor's interview that we did, whereby the drought funding was much appreciated. However, it wasn't extremely targeted to where it was needed. And the big thing at the time was about coordinating the feed, where it was coming to and where it needed to go. So I was informed late last week that a North and South Island coordinator was employed, thanks to funding from MPI, and coordinating that was Extension Manager for Eastern North Island, Mark Harris, who joins us now. Good evening, sir.
Sarah, last time we hooked up was in the Paratai Hall, bearing our soul around just what we've been talking about. That's looking after our good people and telling our stories about how we can get down sometimes.
I really, really enjoyed listening to your own personal story, Mark, at the Will to Live Gisborne event that we held. It was our last event on tour, and I remember just the standing ovation to the brave people that spoke that night was just so heartening. And just a wonderful way to end it. So, I mean, Mark, all of those things, I know the Rural Support Trust in Hawke's Bay is absolutely under the pump, and everybody across the industry is doing a lot to collaborate and coordinate. Can you give us a bit of an update as of this week, Monday? What's the week looking like for some of these drought efforts?
Well, Monday's been a very busy day, and it's been a cool day because we've been pulling together a whole lot of things in coordination. So I believe you've had our famous Poppy Renton on your show. And I'm not sure if I'm live or not, but I'm going to try this. So I'm prepared to get naked, but it was a few years ago. My best shot at the moment. I know I'm going to be challenged at some stage. But we had Poppy on, and we've got Ali, who's taken the role here in Hawke's Bay to look after the North Island as a feed coordinator. We had Hawke's Bay Regional Council comms on. We had Beef and Lamb comms on. We had the Magic Rapper Run. So we had Sophie from there on. And the great work everyone's putting in together to try and come bring things together. So I think what happened last week when we approached MPI, and they've been getting a little bit of stick, I think in some cases unfairly, because in the background, they've been working as quickly as they can to bring things together. And so we had the feed planning things on 0800 numbers at Beef and Lamb and Dairy NZ, which is put together as industry sector group. So the industry good bodies were there, Federated Farmers are there, Dairy NZ ourselves, MPI, all working together to try and put some stuff to help farms have a plan to get through. When you've got your plan, then you'll know what feed you need. So the next stage was to put the feed planning and coordination together. And I think we mentioned it to them in the morning of Tuesday, and that afternoon it was ticked off and announced, and we're still putting together the job description, so to speak. So that's quite cool because we're building as we go, and we've got people on the ground now doing that. Ali and our end started at lunchtime on Friday, and I told her to take the weekend off, so no, she didn't, but that's fine. And got busy with Poppy was involved and others, and we've hit the ground running. And so we hope by Friday this week we'll be servicing people, but also actually along with MPI and who's funding it, we'll know actually what the role is, but it has started.
Good work. Congratulations on all your hard work. And to the new coordinators, thank you so much for taking on this role, because I'm sure it will be one filled with emotion. Just going back to that, Mark, though, there was a lot of criticism towards, and I think that's what really hit the nail on the head, was when people heard that there was funding coming through to tell people, sorry, I'm just getting so much feedback there, that they basically said there's money going into farm advisors telling you that you had no feed. And so I think that's where a lot of that came from. But you're assuring us that there's a lot of collaboration on the ground there, and that we will start to see some action.
Absolutely. And I'll just come back to that, the feed planning thing. So to make it clear, the industry bodies are triaging. So if someone rings into 800, in our case, Beef and Lamb, they get me, and they have to put up with me for a bit of a collection of data to get a stake in the ground of where things are at. So we do a stock take, then we push that back in. And James Allen, who's coordinating on behalf of MPI, is turning around those cases very quickly and hooking them up. So it's a dating service with a trusted advisor, in this case a consultant. And those people are contacting the farms very quickly to try and do a feed plan. I'm not calling it a feed budget at this stage, but a plan of how they might get through the winter. And I would say the resourcing on that is probably between 3 to 4, maybe 5 hours worth that is being resourced by MPI. So consultants getting fat on the back of this, I would take issue with that. I think the people I know are doing it, and I won't mention any names because a group of them, we're all there just trying to help other people through. In my case, in 1989, I went through a very rough patch, as you know from the story, funnily enough, surrounded by a drought that got me into a hole. And now we've got people who are willing to help. So we just need people to put their hand up, give us a ring and try us. Everyone who's rung us so far has given us really, really good feedback how it's helped them.
Can I ask a very simple, practical question? Yarning away to the old man, he's getting a bit nervous, and this is in Cromwell where there's no issue in terms of being halfway through his winter feed already purely because of the processing backlog. How on earth do you budget for feed through to spring when we're hitting the cold months in terms of nothing growing and you have no winter feed left at all?
Yeah, look, and I want you to quantify old because I've got a feeling that you and me might be a similar age. But hey, look, and this is the tough thing, and it's the reality that there is a shortage of feed, and it is, in our case, we say winter's 90 days. That's a good winter, but we need to plan. We need to plan to work out what we've got left to pull in the way of handles. So if something goes wrong, what's the next lot of stock going off? It's not all about feed. It's actually about supply and demand. And I think that that's the key thing people are finding. The other thing I'm finding is when people do ring in, they've actually in their mind got quite a good idea of what they're doing. They may not have put it on paper, and this helps them confirm that they're on the right track. And those people are helping out have quite often got little tips and tricks that can help you get through. So, yeah, it's a real tough one, Sarah, and we're not going to make it say there was plenty of feed around, but there is feed around. It may not be exactly what you want, but by the feed plan and working with the people who are trying to help, we may find that there's a substitute you need to put in a mix, and that goes. And so that's going to be a challenge for us. We're not hiding from that. But the other call is what other handles you can pull. I understand that the processing plants are now getting back up to speed and almost on top of things. So you're starting to think, we don't like selling. I'm from Gisborne. We love our cows up there on the hill. We don't like to sell them. But if you have to downsell, what will be the next thing that goes to get through to keep your feed supply and the demand in some sort of equilibrium?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I know I've had a lot of feedback saying that people would really appreciate if the government came out and acknowledged the long-term effects of what's going to be happening here on the rural economy, and the culling of our capital stock is just absolutely devastating, Mark.
Yeah, it is. And look, we've been here before, to be fair, where we've had to cull down on farms. I think probably the size of this event with COVID over is the one that's killer. COVID's come over the top, but there's a lot of the country that's been short of feed for a while. In Southland, it's too wet, and up here, it's too dry. But the plus factors are things are moving a little bit, and also some areas have had a bit of rain now, which is taking pressure off. I find it interesting that we've struggled to find feed, but if I look at what Sophie and the team have done in Wairarapa, as of this morning, they've got something like 330 bales donated from an area that's still a bit short of feed. So, if we dig deep enough, we can start to find a bit of the stuff and try and marry it up to the people that most need it.
Yeah, and I think the one thing I've learned about this situation is that we are all in this together, and therefore we'll rise out of this together. I've got two last questions. What's the one thing that's on your budget wish list, Mr. Harris?
Oh, I hadn't even thought about what they're going to put out there. Budget wish list. Well, rain, definitely rain. So if the team in power can bring some rain on, it'll be really good.
And some dams to be able to capture it as well would be great. And also, as I know that you are a very big advocate for looking after your mental health, what's the one thing that you do to look after your mental health?
I'm very lucky. I'm married to a magic lady called Fiona, and she knows me too well now, and she tells me how to shut down. But it's actually, I ring up 4 mates randomly, and sometimes they're random mates, as in real random, but I ring up 4 people every weekend to see how they're getting on. And I just want to mention Ben, and he may not see it, but on Poppy's website, there's a lot of people having a bit of fun getting their kid off, and that's causing conversations to occur within that chat box. So, yeah, just hook up with friends, chat. Do not get isolated. The people out there want to help, give them a ring.
Absolutely. You're never a burden. Never, ever, ever a burden. Thank you so much for taking the time, Mark Harris. I could talk to you till the cows come home. I really appreciate you joining us tonight on Sarah's Country.
This is Sarah's Country.